There we go. We are live. People can see us. GM, everybody, and welcome to a brand new live stream with Ritestream. Look, we're talking fan-powered entertainment today. The future of streaming starts here. It's the title of today's show. We've got everybody with us today. So really, really excited to jump into this. We've got Riaz, we've got Damien, and we've got Martin as well. So really, really excited to jump in. Guys, how is it going? Riaz, I'll throw it over to you first, and then we'll throw it around the mic. But Riaz, tell me, are you excited for the show today?
Jack, I'm pumped. And you got the who's who of Ritestream all right here. And we're super excited to share where we are at in the journey and what's ahead as well. And I know some of our community know us pretty well, but this is going out to a much wider audience as
Exactly.
well. And for them to learn about our mission, vision, and I want to thank you for having us here today.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for the honor. This is it's my favorite thing to do, especially the origin stories, getting to know those teams and, not assuming knowledge because we've got, as you say, a brand new audience here, as well as I'm sure some OGs, some holders, etc. So, yeah, for the people who have tuned in, get the likes out, get the retweets out. This will be your one-stop shop to hear everything you will want to know about Rightstream today. So let's get that out to a biggest audience as we can. I think, gentlemen, to start off the show, let's just introduce ourselves for the audience. Riaz, I'll throw it back over to you, and then we'll get a take from Damien and Martin as well. Tell me who you are to Rightstream.
Sure thing. I'm co-founder and CEO of Ritestream, and I'll talk about the origin story, etc., a little bit later. But my role is really that of the visionary, helping drive the business forward, and of course, doing a lot of this stuff as well, and representing Ritestream at various conferences and being a lot of the public face of the business.
No, excellent stuff. And Damien, over to you, co-founder and CTO. We can see that on the
Yeah,
side, but tell me a little about you.
yeah. So obviously started the journey out with Riaz on this, and I guess I call myself a bit of a creative technologist. So again, we'll probably dive into that on the origin story a little bit later. But I think I've got a good mix of understanding of film and TV. I've got a creative mind, and what I love doing is actually bringing the technology into that. So I love being creative with technology, and of course today blockchain, you can be super creative, and that's really fun and exciting.
Absolutely. And Martin, over to you as well. Tell me a little about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a bit more like the new kid on the block. I joined more recently. My focus really is on the product, the design, but also the marketing, the socials, and everything that goes with it.
Love that. And look, that's perfect for the show, right? Like we've got the OGs, we've got the founders. This is, exactly what I would want for a show today. So again, very much appreciate that we have all three of you on. That isn't always the case. We're all busy, we're all building. To get an hour of your time to really break down this, it just shows, what these shows mean to you, which is, yeah, I think it's one of the most important things in this space. Building publicly, allowing people to understand like deeply what the goals are, what the North Star is. I think it means a lot, especially in the crypto space. I think we almost expect it here, but it's not like it's not a lot of work. I always think about my school days and doing my math paper, and it's that moment where they're like, "Hey, no, you don't just have to show me the answer; you have to show me the work as well." That's the crypto space. Like you have to do all of the work, but you also have to tell people and show people the fact that you're doing the work, which takes twice as long. So it's a great thing to do, but it's not without its effort, and it's not without bringing you guys all here when you could be working on the business. So very much appreciated. Okay, let's start with the origin story here. Why Rystream had to exist, like what the product is, what the problem is, and what the solution is that you guys are bringing to it. Riaz, do you want to take this first, and then we can go around?
Yeah, absolutely, Jack. So, for those of you who don't know, my background is both in technology and in media. I've been producing large scale reality TV shows for uh, quite a long time, and I've had shows on majority of the major platforms like Netflix, Hulu, and so forth. And one of the biggest challenges as a creator that I've experienced is you come up with an amazing show idea, and how do you bring that to life? And in the old world, the way it's always worked is you pitch an idea to a studio or to a network, and then they would, if they like it, if you're lucky enough to get through the door, that is, and very few people are lucky enough to get through that door. And if they like it, then they'll help fund the idea. But guess what happens in that whole process? The studio takes majority of the revenues, the profits, and everything. The creator ends up with a very tiny sliver at the back end, and I've experienced that firsthand. The challenges, and that was where the concept of Ritestream came for me, because I wanted to solve that for creators. I wanted to create a platform where people can be fully empowered, and that the fans would actually fund those ideas, because who better to actually back them than people that'll be watching that content? And then, as we were kind of jamming through this, Damien and I, we said, but wouldn't it be great? It's like if we had a platform where you could actually then stream the content as well, so that it's not just about the creation of that content, the funding of that content, but also providing it the outlet so that the fans that have been part of that process can actually watch that content, and then of course, in true blockchain fashion, we want to introduce the concept of being rewarded, so that if you're if you're the consumer of that content, and that content is generating revenue, then you should participate in that as well. So that's kind of how it came about, and truly born out of a pain point for me personally.
This
I'll hand
is
over.
no, thank you. And this is a story I am hearing time and time again now in terms of, Netflix, streaming services. You see it from creators, you see it from actors, you see it everywhere. Like, there feels like there has never been a bigger disconnect between the fans and consumers and the production, because I think there's a couple of reasons I say this. One, we mentioned where the money goes, and I think some of the best films that we've seen, some of the best series that we've seen, would not be made today because we don't have DVD anymore. We don't have, this basically second stream of revenue that will come for these more cult classics, because it all just goes to these services, the streaming services. We also have a saturation in the market, to gain attention right now, when it takes me, at least, and this might be a bias and this might be projection, but if I'm on Netflix, Amazon, Paramount, and all the other streaming services that I have access to, finding a movie or a new TV series when a show goes down takes me longer than some of these series actually run. So it's there's the attention side of all of this as well. And I think what this has done in combination is created this moment where you will get a Jurassic Park 15 before you will get new IP off the ground. And no disrespect to Jurassic Park, love some of the movies, but I think when you look at the consumer side and the audience, we're really trying to have something new right now. Like, we really react well to the new stuff, but so little of it is getting made, but for all the reasons you've just mentioned, Riaz, and obviously all these like broader reasons for the space and how it's evolved with streaming services. Honestly, with AI, I feel that's going to be another evolution that will make it very, very difficult to create new content, but also this revenue distribution and like actually being able to get the money into the right hands so that we can take more risks, because right now that just doesn't seem to be happening too much for me. Okay, let's continue on here. So when we do talk about this idea you have with Ritestream, can you give me a little bit more context on the moment? When was it specifically? Was there a moment in time that you were like, oh, this we can't continue on this road, and nobody else is building any sort of off-road here? I need to do this. I need to build a new product, Ritestream.
For me, that moment probably happened quite some time before even Ritestream was born, because I had a television production company, and uh, I had a catalog of content that, amazing ideas that weren't coming to fruition. And I would approach networks, I would approach different sponsors and so forth. And there was always a hurdle, right? And I think it was about probably 2 to 3 years prior to Rightstream actually being born that I got super frustrated, right? And I've been in blockchain space close to 12 years. And having watched how this space has evolved over time, and real businesses are starting to emerge. And that's when I started to think about, okay, this is the solution, that blockchain technology offers us the transparency that we seek, and it offers us the connection with the community, because that's what the space is all about. And that's where the idea started coming together. But I think the real pain point was when I was trying to bring concepts to life and
Mm.
talking to networks and the sponsors and banging on doors and over again. And as a producer, I've got a pretty good reputation in the industry. I've got Emmy Award nominations. I've won numerous awards over the years, and I thought to myself that if I'm having such a hard time, what chance does a new person stand? That there's amazing ideas out there, and people will come and pitch me ideas, and uh, that 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 pain point kind of went deeper and deeper, and then it didn't go away, right? And when someone when something kind of sticks with you at that deep level, then you got to do something about it. I'm the sort of person, I just can't sit there and do nothing, right? I'm I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a creator, and especially if there's a problem there, it's got to be solved. And I like taking bull by the horns. And uh, uh, that's and David and I were our co-founders in another business called All Rights as well, which is a content distribution platform. And again, solving a different problem, right? But again, within the same industry and disrupting a very traditional industry. And that's when we started chatting, and I said, "We got to fix this." And I'll let Damien jump in there, but to me, this was a deep, deep a pain and problem that had to be solved. And who better to do it than people that understand it inside out, and people that understand technology and understand blockchain. So marrying all of that just makes sense.
Look, I love the context that you're providing here, and I also love the concept of, hey, look, this wasn't my first rodeo, Jack. This is years and years of history where I was able to get these films, TV shows off the ground, and then all of a sudden there was a change, and it was felt, and it was experienced, and we just didn't see that change happening for the good. You had all the credentials that you should possibly need to get these shows off the ground, and yet they just seem to start to stagnate. And we've seen this. Everybody, I think, who is interested at all in the TV or film industry will have seen and experienced this through, just the same IP constantly coming
Hmm.
out now, time and time again, or even films that you wouldn't expect, like the Studio Apple series. I don't know if you guys have witnessed this, but this is a great demonstration of they're trying to get a movie with Martin Scorsese made, and end up having to pivot to a movie about, I think it was Kool-Aid, because it was literally like that's a
It's
known IP.
it's a known IP. It's all driven by the commercials,
Yeah.
and I think the pivot point came about several years ago, right? That when Netflix started producing its own content, and uh, the original series, and they started throwing a lot of money at these shows, but then along the way they realized that, you know what, I want total control, and
Yes.
if I'm paying for it, I'm going to pay the producer slightly higher production fee so that essentially, they feel, hey, I'm making some money up front,
Mm.
but then they get squeezed at the back end.
Yeah.
So all the upside disappears. And even if you look at hit shows like Squid Games, and you read the true story behind that, then how much do the producers actually end up getting as a result? So that I think this change has happened uh, almost subtly, that a lot of people didn't even realize it was happening. And then when a big studio like Netflix does that, then the others follow suit as well. And the whole dynamic of the industry shifts. And that's where we have found ourselves. And now I think we're at the convergence of AI with entertainment. And you can imagine how things are going to evolve in the coming months, years, literally. And there's a really interesting dynamic developing. And I think we are at the center of that, and we are the change. We are creating that.
I love it. Just from a viewership angle, as an audience member, I definitely feel underrepresented with the content that is coming out these days, and also just the percentage of new content as well. It's so consumed by the Kool-Aid movies and like these movies that come out where it's like you almost feel like you're watching a 2-hour commercial for the product. And that's something that I cannot stand. Like, it's something that I see straight away. I understand what's happening to me. And even in the original content series now, there are content creators showing how much product placement is in these series, and it just distracts from what could be an incredible TV show, because just to get this thing made now, there's so many hoops to jump through. Damien, thank you so much for your patience, as Riaz did mention you earlier, and mention the
That's
fact that he automatically was like, okay, I need somebody to do this with. It's going to be Damien. How easy was the sell to you? How obvious was the problem for you? And like how much how much arm twisting did Riaz have to do to get you on board?
Yeah, look, I think, and I actually vividly remember the conversation, and we sort of met through a mutual friend that also worked in the industry, and I think that we were probably operating in a bit of a parallel universe at the same time, where Riaz had his pain points and whatever, and I was sort of, I guess, on the tech side, I'd created a platform um, for my own purposes, and white label streaming, where I had a lot of friends in the industry that were like, "Hey, I've got this content, or it's been broadcast once, and now it's like sitting on my shelf. Like, what do I do with it? How do I make money from it?" Um, and I wanted to make a platform where people could then obviously put the content on there, but then get like a fair revenue share of that, you know, subscription fee or whatever it is coming in. But I think Web 2, it's a very difficult. It's still centralized. There's still someone actually, paying people out. There's still a bit of an opaqueness to it all. And I think then when Riaz and I connected, and I said, well, this is actually kind of what I'm trying to do here, and then Riaz's ideas on his side. I think when we kind of put all that together, then the magic happened. And what I think is really exciting is we're in the middle of kind of testing a Samsung TV app. So I'm sitting here in my lounge room with my 70-inch television, 4K, and I'm loading up the Ritestream app and having a look at content. And I thought, this is going to be really quite amazing. What gets me excited is imagine you're sitting there owning part of this platform, but also you've actually owned part of the content that's been funded, produced, or whatever on there. And I think as Riaz mentioned, like Netflix create their own original content, but it's all controlled and it's their thing. But I feel this is really community driven. So the content is led by the community. Anyone can have ownership in it, and of course, it's on a free streaming platform anywhere in the world. So I think our visions align very well, and here we are today.
Yeah, so you had the product and then the idea sort of just molded perfectly to that product.
Yeah. The two pieces of the puzzle met, I guess, and
Yeah, and you didn't even know there were two pieces maybe at the start.
yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. I think all great stories start that way. It's like this concept. I've seen it with Apple. I saw it with BlackBerry. It was completely different products to start with, and then you have another idea, another entity come into the mix, and it sparks that magic. Martin, obviously, you're the newest member to this team. Tell me about your entry. Tell me about was it a pitch, or did you already see this product like coming out and being built and think I have to be a part of this? And what was your experience to know that this thing needed to be made and you had to be a part of that journey?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm a little bit different than Damien and Riaz. I don't have decades of experience in the entertainment industry. My background is more consumer and financial services, but what I do have is 4 kids. And just thinking back in the day, I had a cable TV subscription to Sky. I had it to Film TV, what used to be back in the day in the UK, and various packages. And they all costed an absolute fortune, like £30 each. And then Netflix came about, isn't it? And I was like, God, this is just amazing, isn't it? £9, I'm done. Got everything I need. And over time, HBO, Disney Plus, Peacock, content got more fragmented, but also the platforms got bigger. So they started to raise the prices. And one of my kids wants to watch Marvel movies, so we got Disney Plus. My wife wants to watch TV series, so we got HBO. One of my kids joined rugby recently, so we ended up splashing out £35 a month for TNT because that's where all the rugby
Sports
matches
will get
are.
you.
And it just all adds up, isn't it? And when you just think about it, it's just cable TV is basically what streaming is nowadays. Streaming was meant to make a better version of cable TV, and it just became the same, just in a digital format. And I think you often see that with big tech, isn't it? They take a business model, they reinvent it, but then they have to monetize it because they have to keep Wall Street satisfied. And when they start monetizing it, it basically becomes the same as it used to be, just a digital version of it. And that was my personal experience when I realized, well, actually, there has to be a better way. And I think that's really what Ritestream is about and what we call fan-powered entertainment.
Look, absolutely agree. Also UK based, and I remember those moments where I was begging for Sky from my parents, and the Disney packages, the movie packages. It was over £100, I think. Like if you wanted the sports, the whole thing, and this was a couple of decades ago, and then you've got all the commercials. You're waiting 5 minutes, and all of a sudden you're on 10 streaming platforms if you want to have like a full access to every show, every movie that you might want to watch. And yes, they are costing more. And now for slightly less, but still a lot more than what you used to be charged for these same platforms, they will add 3 minutes of commercials every 5 to 10 minutes of the show and just completely zap you back out. And I'm sat here just like, we are literally going full circle. This is the first time in history I've seen that come to fruition. But that money isn't full circle. Those adverts aren't going to the producers and to the creatives in the way that they used to. So it's not actually the same as it used to be for me. It's kind of worse. You're getting less original content for the same price and the same advertisements. And actually the advertisements are getting even worse now because they give you like a little pop-up to say, do you want to buy this right now? I am too weak-willed to have these advertisements come up and have an ability to buy them right there and then as they're advertised. So yeah, look, great context again, Martin. Love this story, love the relationship that we're hearing about here from the team as well. Riaz, I'll get this question back over to you, and this is a big one, which is, what is the long-term vision for Ritestream, and what kind of entertainment world are you trying to build in relation to the ones we've just heard about?
The long-term vision is one where the next blockbuster movie gets produced on Ritestream, and where the producers see their revenues transparently on blockchain. and where the viewers are participating in this entire ecosystem, that it is completely decentralized and there's no single entity. In my ideal world, the whole thing would be DAO based, and it's the community decides what gets made. That ultimately the flywheel that we create um, empowers everybody that's involved in that flywheel. That's kind of how I see it, that this becomes a machine that's fully automated, where everything resides on chain, where creative ideas are allowed to flourish, but also the community can decide, what they believe in and what actually gets made as well. So that now you're getting input from, in my ideal world, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people that are saying, "Yeah, that's a blockbuster I'd want to watch," and and then that gets made, and it's not three studio executives sitting there and saying, "You know what? I think, yeah, I don't like that," and because I've got my own bias, right, and what I like or whatever, and a lot of these guys, they're not in the demographic that's even going to be watching this content. So that's kind of my long-term vision, that ultimately this is a machine that runs on its own through the community, where creators and community come together to create content, but also to experience it in different shapes and forms. And today, the experience is purely streaming, but I think it can go much wider than that. It can go into even live activities, metaverse engagement. There's so many other dimensions that this thing can expand into. So that's my vision, Jack.
I love it. I think there's so much history that shows the problem that you're looking to solve here. I think of, and this is not meant to be an attack. This is just my personal preferences, but I'm a big Star Wars fan. They are in two worlds at the moment when it comes to the content that is being created around this IP, and there are a lot of fans not happy with that content. There is so much short form content now out there depicting certain moments and certain cringe moments and certain moments where it's like, why has this been created when we have such a strong back catalogue of IP of stuff that isn't being created right now? You look at Snow White and you look at the real action sort of creations that are happening, and again, you're sat there like, who greenlit these movies when nobody seems to be enjoying them? And how did they get through all the stages of sign off to actually get to the screen? Who It feels like there is a wild disconnect between the viewer and the people who are, ticking the boxes to get these things made right now, and there isn't a certain there's no escape. There is not a certain area within the entertainment industry right now, and as you mentioned, metaverse, gaming, movies, TV, where that isn't the case, where you can't go to a forum, you can't go to social media and see the fans and the people who used to love this content or love this game be in just dismay of like, why is this being made? This is what we want, and yet you're over here and nobody seems to want that, and we've told you this isn't new information to you. Star Wars is an IP being owned by Disney, and the series that have been created and the concern over those series, that's been wildly documented by fans for about 5 to 10 years now. This isn't a new thing. They just don't seem to be getting that message. So yeah, I like this idea of fan powered entertainment. Is Riaz, is that concept in your mind exactly what you've just described in terms of the solution, where the fan themselves will help start directing the content that's actually being created, into which right now they just don't seem to have any power? And how exactly will that work in your opinion? How does the product with Ritestream converge information and thought from the fan into a real end product like a film or TV series?
100%. I see this as different stages over time, right? So where we are at is democratization of that content, empowering the creator, and through the fan base. The as AI,
Oh, did we just lose Riaz?
We might have lost him.
Oh no.
Oh,
He's back.
oh, there he is.
We got
Oh,
you
there he is.
back. Riaz, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, yeah, you dropped for literally 5 seconds. So we just
Okay.
started discussing about how this all works.
Okay. I'll just go back 5 seconds in that case. So as I was saying, Jack, that uh, we're at the very beginning of that transformation, that evolution, right? Where right now, at the stage that we are at, it's about engaging the fans, empowering them to actually participate in the creation of content and so forth. But with the progression of AI, the fans will be able to dictate the direction of that content a lot more as well, and be able to engage with it in ways that are not possible today, and even reimagining the endings that they would like to see. And a piece of content will have an infinite number of twists and turns and endings and so forth. And that's kind of the ultimate fan powered experience, right? That you get involved in it from the very inception in the creation of that content. You get involved in watching that content, but also changing the direction of the story, and to in a fashion that will appeal to you and your mates, basically, in a sense. So that's the evolution that I see.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And again, AI coming into the mix here, sort of perfect timing if we can get this right. And that's, the big if in the room. And Damien, maybe this is a question for some technical expertise as well here. So I'll throw this over to you. From a technical perspective, how do you see this sort of organic conversation that leads to amendments in film and television actually working? How does this functionally work?
Yeah, look, I guess I was kind of thinking before when we were talking about the whole, what Riaz's vision is for it, and I think that look, AI is just going to be a tool. It's just going to be part of the process, and it's going to be a tool that we use to, I guess, help us along the way. We obviously don't want it making decisions for ourselves. We want the community to be doing that, but I think it will certainly help facilitate that, and also perhaps be that tool that helps perhaps people as part of that community articulate their you know ideas or wants and needs into the filmmakers. But I think, like, as a general, I think as a whole, I still think our core is being the facilitator of it all. So I think, again, as Riaz mentioned, we really want millions and millions of people as part of this. Clearly, using AI is going to, you couldn't do that without AI, right? Like, that's going to help, have 20 million people on the platform and contributing, and it kind of making some decisions around, where does this go to next, or someone, it's got to go to this group of the DAO, or whatever it is. But yeah, I think that'll overcome that challenge. So
Yeah, look,
yeah,
again, you hear this about the movie industry, and Riaz mentioned this earlier. At a certain point in time, there may be a room of people who decide that this movie will be made, this TV series will be made, and the idea that they can consume all of the content that is out there, all the pilots, all the screenplays, or it's not possible today.
that's right. It's got to distill it down and
Yeah.
present them with, like you said, a bunch of options. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think being able to not start from a team, but start from a community is
Yep.
is a much better place to start that journey to the top, and to actually get this content created, because who knows better than the viewers as to what they want to watch,
Hmm.
especially en masse. I think that's a very, very interesting solution. You mentioned AI. we've mentioned the technology that's sort of underpinning all this and being able to decentralize the conversations that happen around these shows. What makes now the right time from a technological perspective? And then Riaz, I'll come over to you for a broader conversation on this.
I, th- I think it's because we actually have everything in hand or in reach. So I think we're at a point in technology now where there's nothing we can't do, and we're only really restricted by of course our resources to be able to do it, but we're only kind of restricted by our own creativity of what we want to do. So I think you've heard from the big vision of Riaz, and I think having those tools to use is going to get us there. And obviously, from a technological point of view, it speeds up everything we do. It's faster to design things. It's faster to learn things. We're already using quite a lot of AI. In the business. Behind the back doors, like for software development and coding and on-chain management and all those things. And that was unheard of 12 months ago, right? And we're now kind of at that Moore's law curve where if we think what we're doing now from 12 months ago, imagine what we'll be doing in January. So it's pretty exciting. And like I said, the only limit is our imagination, really. So
Yes. Yeah, look, we hear this term general intelligence with AI, and all we've seen it. We anyone who's dealt with ChatGPT or Grok or any of these AI platforms now, even if you're just on social media, the algorithms are changing so much faster than ever before. And I think, yes, that feels like a decade in the making, but it really hasn't been. It's been a year or two, and the evolution is just so vast. And if you think that it seems AI only gets sort of quicker at improving as time goes on, it's I don't think we can even imagine the solutions that are going to be on offer to us, or the products that can be available through all of this technical evolution.
be a very different conversation in 12 months' time, I think.
Yes, yeah, and I would love to have that as well. I can't wait to. Riaz, I'll throw this over to you, because I guess the other question here outside of the technical execution for me is the attention issue that we have in the space. There's a saturation. I mentioned earlier, Netflix and all the other streaming services I now have can take me hours to find the right content, because there is so much content available. Do you feel now is the right time because the audience is fatigued with that same decision? Like, this isn't just a me thing. I feel like people are fatigued with the content that is coming out. Obviously, the 2-hour adverts for a product that is being phrased as a movie now. The Kool-Aid example I gave you before, that's a hit TV show. I think The Studio with Seth Rogen, the Apple TV series, it won every Emmy that it could win. Like, there's images of Seth like trying to carry all those Emmys. It literally, so people are aware of this, both from like the content that's out there, but also social media, etc. Do you feel this is the moment for the audience as well? Like, do you feel like they're ready for this product?
I believe that now is the moment. And that's for a couple of reasons, right? There's a fatigue that you mentioned. I have the same experience. I'll sit in front of Netflix or Prime or whatever, and I could spend literally an hour, trying to find what I want to watch. And then I go, do you know what? It's like I don't have enough time to watch it anymore. It's like I'm done. So imagine if that experience was different. Imagine if I had actually participated in the creation of a piece of content, right? Then I am so heavily invested in it that I'm going to sit and watch it, and I will follow the journey from the beginning to the end, to the finished product as well. And that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is that I believe the world is ready. I believe the world is ready for more empowerment like it has never been before. The fact that we're still fairly young in blockchain tech and crypto and everything, right? But the speed at which things are shifting and the speed of adoption that crypto has taken on now, I feel that speaks to a human condition where people are saying we want this freedom, that we want this technology, we want to be empowered. And when people have made that mental shift, then things that empower them will be naturally attractive. So when we build a platform like Ritestream that is all about empowerment of the creator, empowerment of the viewers, and transparency, then it's got natural appeal. And that's why I feel that the time is now. Like if we were building this like even 5, 10 years back, then it wouldn't be the right time. It's like great idea, wrong time. But we're at that inflection point now. And for us to create that this business now is the perfect moment in time. It's a bit like if I look at Amazon, right? Back when they were formed, and that was not that far from the dot-com boom and bust cycle, and essentially a real business emerged out of that. And look at what they are today. And I feel that this is that moment. This is that moment for blockchain. This is that moment for us.
I completely agree. And I think the only questions that I have left now, because I agree with the problem and I agree with the fact that this is the time for the solution from technical perspective, from a consumer perspective, from a participation perspective as well. I think people want this, and they are prepared to be involved. And we are seeing that already in terms of reviews. Now it's the implementation that's really lacking. You know, those reviews are just hitting what seems like a fairly tone deaf wall, and they don't seem to be proliferating into the content improvement. So my big question is, why are you the team to do this? Because we have the product, we have the timing, we have everything else. We talked about this at the very start of the show, but I'd like to double down on that question now. So Riaz, for the audience, if they're on the same page as me right now and they believe this is the time and we are ready for this product, explain to me why this is the team that are going to produce that product and going to succeed and provide that solution for the world.
That's a great question, Jack. And whenever looking at a business, I think the founding team is absolutely critical to its success or failure. And if you look at the skill sets that we have within this team, uh, with myself, I've been a creator for around 20 years, and I've seen all the ups and downs of that journey. But I also come from a tech background, degree in software engineering, so I understand technology. And I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've got multiple businesses. I've done the entire business journey, and having a startup is incredibly hard. It's one of the hardest journeys that anyone can ever possibly do, and it takes a certain kind of crazy. And I think the three of us sitting here, do have that kind of crazy to be on this journey. Um, but so the thing that differentiates successful entrepreneurs from everyone else is the resilience. And I believe this team has the resilience. It has the determination to succeed. It has the decades of experience. With all due respect to a lot of other startups, that have young founders in the early 20s, etc., they do an amazing job. But when you've had a couple of decades behind you through various businesses, going through the ups and downs, you've learned a lot, right? And so we have got deep domain expertise between myself, Damien, Martin, and also the business expertise as well to execute. Uh, and but above and beyond all of that is persistence and resilience and the never give up attitude. I think that's that's what it takes, and that's why I believe we're the right team. But Damien, Martin, do you guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah, Damien, over to you first.
Yeah, like I think I agree with Riaz on that. It's not for the faint-hearted. I think doing what we're doing, especially in blockchain, especially in 2025.
Very true.
Yeah, I think if I put my background into it, I've been in film and television for 30 years. So I've done everything from being an editor to a producer. I've been in the trenches. I understand the cogs of how it all kind of works. I've worked for some National Geographic Channel, Fox in Japan. So I've worked for some pretty big corporations, but then also the last 20 years I've been an entrepreneur in the film and television business. I've had several startups, and I think that experience then combined with again my love of I started mining Bitcoin in 2014, right? A little rig in the garage. So I think all those kind of things gel together to again, I guess, have the business acumen and the deep experience to kind of to pull this off.
I did not know that. That is quite the flex, the Bitcoin OG. Yeah, look, again, we mentioned it, the doing it here, building in public, doing these shows, getting feedback. You need that grit. There's no other tangible thing that is going to get you to the end goal, to the finish line, than being able to deal with the ups and the downs. And I believe it's more visible now than ever. Like, I think people who could have done this 10 years ago, if the product was there, couldn't do it today, from the emotional and the feedback loop that you will get from these fans. Because what you're trying to do, a lot of people are hugely convicted to, but that means their emotions and their passion is also super high, which means you're going to get the best and the worst from those groups when you launch this product. So yeah, I agree, Damien. That's
It's like being on Big Brother, like starting a new company
Yes.
and being on Big Brother, because it's like everything you do is public. Whatever you do is seen. But like you said, you get the positives are that there's a lot of passion behind it, and there's a big community. So
Yeah, Martin, over to you. Tell us a little bit about why you feel this team is the team.
Yeah, because I think we really complement each other well. So Ria's got the entertainment experience, a producer, Emmy Award nominator. Damien, decades of experience in the entertainment as well. He built streaming platforms. It's not his first rodeo, so to speak. My background, less so in entertainment, more so in financial services. So I've been the Group Digital Strategy and Innovation Director for the largest financial services company in the UK. Which happens also to be the largest investment bank in the UK. So if you think about it, we're building an entertainment platform, but if the concept is you watch an ad and you get some of the money flowing back in a RAI token, that is money flows. If you think about crowdfunding a movie, that's an investment platform. So it also needs somebody that understands money flows, regulations, compliance, KYC, and then how you turn all that into business models and revenue flows. And that's really where I come in and how I complement the others.
Yeah, fascinating to hear your involvement, and at this stage as well, at the inception point, because from my experience in the industry, and we talked about this offline, 3,000 or so hours of conversations with founders and builders over the past 5 years. The biggest red flag that I have noticed now is that they don't consider the longer term vision. They don't consider regulation. They don't consider how that economy is going to run long term. There is a moment in time where the attention is within the industry. They capitalize on that, and there has been a lot of people burnt by that short-term vision. Some people love it because they can time that market and they're traders, and they get what they want from these products, which is financial gain. But I think for a product like this, where the goal is much, much greater than just financial reward, it's changing an industry that is suffering right now and an audience that is suffering because of that. You need that long-term vision, and you need people like yourself, Martin, here now, not just, in 5 years' time when it's all up and going and it's like, hey, how do we keep this thing alive? Look, guys, I again really cannot thank you enough for your time today. I can't even imagine how extremely busy you are. So to get an hour of your time to discuss this, it's been it's been great, and it's been thoroughly entertaining for me. For the audience, I hope you have really enjoyed this too. The whole show is going to be back recorded, so people can watch this at any point when they see it on X. So please don't be afraid to get a like and a retweet out. It's very early in the US right now. It's not too late even in Europe. So yeah, let's make sure that this goes out there, and you guys, if you like the product and you like what you're hearing from this team today, please also go follow at the main account and see what these guys do build into the future. As we've mentioned a couple of times on this show, a very different future in 12 months. Before we do close out, though, we do have a couple of minutes left. So Riaz, I'll get this back over to you. Are there any questions I haven't asked you today? Are there any updates, any milestones coming out shortly that you'd like to answer, that you'd like to leave the audience with before we do close out the show?
Yeah, Jack. I think it's important to note that, we have a real product, and we have real consumers, and we've proven out our business model. We've launched a show called Kryptonites, which was partially funded on the Ritestream platform. So where Ritestream is at is beyond just an MVP. It is a live business, and very early stage still. If I look at the Amazon journey, then we've still got quite a bit to go, but it won't take us that long because things move a lot faster these days, right? But I do believe that our vision will be fulfilled, and we have the right team to do it. And Jack, I want to thank you for your time, for having us. I've really enjoyed the conversation today as well.
Me too. Me too. We could, do these as frequently as you'll let me, because I can see this moving very, very fast, and it's such a entertaining journey that you guys are on. I'm a little jealous. But that being said, for our audience, thank you so much for tuning in today. Massive shout out to Martin, Damien, Riaz, and the team for giving us your time, and the team on the back end as well that we haven't heard from today as well. I'm sure we'll hear from you in the future. But that is unfortunately all we have time for today. Oh, Martin, yeah?
Yeah, I just want to leave I guess like a closing thought from my side, because I think one of the biggest misconceptions about this is because we're a crypto project, that we also must live or die by the crypto market. But that's really not how entertainment behaves, isn't it? Entertainment isn't crypto. And when the economy is tough, which it is at the moment because we're all feeling the pinch, people don't stop watching movies, do they? In fact, they more hold up at home and they watch more. So entertainment is actually one of the most recession resilient industries on the planet. And when a lot of crypto projects struggle in a market like that, because their revenue is basically token speculation, our demand doesn't disappear. People just keep streaming and the revenue keeps flowing. And that's really, in my mind, the core difference. So our business model isn't powered by token hype. It's powered by real audience behavior, because we generate revenue from two places. So it's free ad-supported streaming, so we get fiat revenue from the ads, and it's crowdfunding for shows and films, so we get fiat revenue from fees on that. And there was this recent podcast by Arthur Hayes, and it's absolutely worth listening to that podcast. And he was basically saying that the altcoins that will perform best in this market are the ones that generate real revenue, either from Bitcoin or Ethereum or from fiat revenue, and that then they cycle that revenue back by buying back their own token. And those are all the tokens he went in. And if you think about it, that's exactly what we do. So we are largely insulated from a lot of the up and down movements from the crypto markets. We don't really need the market to be bullish to operate and to grow, because the movies will do that, don't it? But when then the market does come back, we're actually really well positioned, because we're positioned for the biggest narrative, or at least we believe is going to be the biggest narrative for the next decade: RWA, real world assets. So if you look at crypto Twitter, I mean, everybody's talking about Ondo, isn't it? Because they're tokenizing stocks. And I mean, coming from investment banking myself, that's amazing. And it makes total sense. It's the first wave, because stocks are just the easiest to tokenize, because they're assets that are liquid. But beyond there is going to be a second wave, which is what we call in investment banking alternative assets: property, books, IP, creative rights, you name it. And we firmly believe that's where the long-term growth is. And we are really leading that charge. So whether there's going to be a crypto downturn or not, I mean, who knows? I mean, nobody got a crystal ball. But what we do know is the fundamentals of our business, they just don't change. People keep watching, we keep generating revenue, and we keep buying back our token. Simple as that.
Really well said. And yeah, I think the product market fit and the revenue stream is very important. The projects that do last through the bear markets, and this historically we've had them for years. We sort of had a brief spike, and now we don't know where we're going next. But the ones that survived are the ones that realize that yes, there needs to be a revenue stream, there needs to be a real product, and there needs to be a real use case that people are going to enjoy.
Absolutely.
And of course, this is a huge one. Damien, can't not get you the mic before we close out as well. Any final closing thoughts from you?
I'm looking forward to the future when you can turn on your TV, turn on Ritestream Plus. A whole bunch of AI is going to serve you the content that you should watch then and now.
Yeah, my goodness. Like, if I don't have to scroll through TV shows or movies ever again, just the perfect
Exactly.
thing I want to watch is right there.
Yep.
Take all my money, Damien. Take it all, because yeah, it's hours and hours of my time at the moment. Well, look, great ending to a great show. Again, cannot thank you all enough for your time today. Also, the audience back there, for your time today. I hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope we see a lot of you tune in later as well. And thank you so much. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, Jack.